Memory Snow Prequel. Liar Days. This is a real problem. What's the matter all of a sudden, Puck? The sudden voice she heard from within her hair caused Amelia's amethyst eyes to widen in surprise. Emerging from her long, glistening silver hair and perching on her shoulder was a tiny cat spirit small enough to fit in a palm. Puck. Puck crossed his short arms and whispered into Amelia's ear. Hey, between you and me, it looks like my magical release period has arrived. Magical release period? What's that? Oh dear, you're a forgetful kid, aren't you? A magical release period is when beings like myself, who possess extremely powerful odds, end up in a pitiful state, because we have nothing to use our accumulated mana on. Accumulated mana? Is that like constipation? That's a rather vexing way to put it, but I can't exactly deny it. With a finger against her cheek, Amelia simplified it in her own way, which caused Puck to smile wryly. But even Amelia couldn't just disregard something that would make Puck suffer. Puck was always playing around, and his pranks were innumerable. He was still a precious member of Amelia's family. After all, the two of them had always been together back in that snowy land they lived in. Now that you mention it, back in the forest there were times when it seemed like you really wanted to use magic. Could that perhaps have had something to do with this? Well, that's the gist of it. Back in the forest, I could let off some steam one way or another, like helping you hunt, for instance. But this mansion hasn't given me that sort of opportunity in quite a while. Puck used the tip of his long tail to indicate Amelia's room. No, more generally, the whole mansion, as he donned a human-like smile. The two were presently speaking in Amelia's room, which was located in the Roswell Manor. The room allotted to Amelia, who was a royal selection candidate, was so spacious and beautifully constructed that she felt it was too much for her. To begin with, back in the forest, she was originally living in she only ever stayed in a wooden house. So things like this stone construction and this massive mansion were completely foreign to her. When her lifestyle suddenly changed, she had her hands full trying to adapt to this change in her environment. But to think I never noticed you weren't feeling well. Looks like I was only thinking about myself. I'll have to reflect on that. Well now, what a sincere kid my daughter is. While I certainly do feel a sense of accomplishment for having raised you right, let's set that aside for now. Puck. As Amelia regretted her lack of consideration, Puck separated from her shoulder and unsteadily descended to the bed. The gray cat then curled up there, and it kind of feels like it's going to be a real tough one this time. Perhaps it's because I'm getting on in years. No way, Puck, will you be okay? Is there anything I can do for you? You sure are kind. But now that it's gotten to this point, there's probably not much you can do. So right. For now, could you keep this secret between the two of us? Secret? You mean the magical release period? Amelia tilted her head, not understanding the meaning of Puck's request. In response, Puck, who was still on the bed, started grooming his face with his paw as he smiled bashfully. Look, calling it constipation was kind of, but it really is embarrassing to have others find out about your magical release period. That goes for you too, doesn't it? Really? I mean, even if people found out I was constipated, I wouldn't really. It's embarrassing. Leah, it's embarrassing to have others learn that you're constipated. Why, yeah, got it. Even though Puck was supposed to be curled up on the bed, he emphasized this right in front of her, causing Amelia to be taken aback as she nodded. This was one of those moments when Puck would instruct her. In this manner, Puck would often put significant effort into correcting various ideas Amelia had, since due to her life in the forest, she was not well versed in the ways of the world. He would most commonly work on amending this sort of everyday conduct in particular. According to Puck, it seemed like girls were supposed to be cute. Amelia didn't really get it, though. Phew, I'm glad you understand. Leah, from now on, make sure you never mention anything like constipation in front of others again. It's a promise. Right, but it's not like I've ever even had an upset stomach or anything, so. But even so. Looks like my work here is done. Nodding in satisfaction, Puck returned to the bed. When he once again curled up, Amelia quietly sat down next to him and gently stroked his small back. He tried to hide it with his fatherly act, but Puck was extremely exhausted right now. It was certainly cute how he bravely tried to hide it, but Amelia couldn't just leave him alone. He had essentially told her there was nothing she could do, but then at the very least, Right, understood. I'll definitely keep your constipation under wraps, it's a promise. Foo-foo, thank you, Leah. But it's not constipation, it's my magical release period. She used her finger to tickle his neck as he smiled, making him purr adorably. Too, and thus, Emilia was burning with the will to keep her promise to Puck. Anyway, it seemed like Puck was trying to release his mana little by little so he could return to normal. Because of this, the temperature around the mansion had stealthily declined, and the air felt just a little colder than before. Ah, Subaru. It's a little cold today, but that's definitely just your imagination, so you don't need to think about it too much. Also, this is unrelated, but Puck's going to be resting in my room today. Not that that has anything to do with this, but sorry about that. In this manner, Emilia proactively tried to hide Puck's secret as she endeavored to keep her promise. In truth, she could hardly bear to lie like this, but as Puck's contractor fulfilling his request was the least she could do for him. She was terribly apologetic towards everyone in the Roswell manor, but she wanted them to bear with the cold for just a little bit. The chilly winds produced by the dropping temperatures avoided Emilia. This was one of the protections afforded to her as a spirit contractor, and as a result of this, Emilia was the only one who was not besieged by the cold. Ooh, this is no good. Maybe I'm having a tummy ache for the first time or something. Emilia stroked her stomach, which had a dull, persistent pain running through it. Perhaps this was her punishment for trying to deceive others with her inexperienced lies. If this was what happened when you lied, she could definitely understand why people said lying was bad. In her heart, Emilia resolutely decided that from now on she would avoid lying as much as possible. As Emilia made this vow to herself, "Hold on a minute, girl." As Emilia walked through the mansion's corridors, this voice from behind caused her to stop and turn around. This call had no subject, but she had an idea as to who this voice belonged to. And she also understood that the owner of this voice wouldn't simply refer to her by name. "What's the matter, Beatrice? It's rather rare for you to have any business with me. Ah, it's just a little chilly today, but Puck and I have nothing to do with that, so." "Ooh, you were just trying to get rid of me quickly, I suppose. What's with that face?" "No, don't worry about it. My tummy just hurts a bit so." Sighing with dissatisfaction at Emilia's attempt to put on a brave smile was a young girl in a dress, Beatrice. She calmly crossed her arms and glared at Emilia with her lovely eyes full of scorn. What? Puck and I, this cold really. If you want to say you have nothing to do with it, I understand, I suppose. Anyway, how is my brother? He must be suffering in your room, I suppose." "Yeah, that's how it is. He's all curled up like a real cat." As if even moving was too troublesome, Puck was as docile as a domesticated cat as he rested in her room. Puck would very rarely enter a dormant state as a spirit in which his entire body would go completely still. But to Emilia, this looked just as bad as that, or perhaps even worse. "I'm really worried. Say, Beatrice, do you know anything about magical release?" "Magical release? Do you know of any method to deal with a really weird kind of constipation? That man is without a doubt a supremely terrible influence on you, in fact." Emilia had almost ended up saying it out loud, but she managed to cover it up at the last second. As a bonus, she even managed to continue her question by putting it a different way. Perhaps she had a real talent for lying. As Emilia was surprised by this unexpected possibility, Beatrice angrily stamped her foot. She then placed her palm against her forehead. "Ha! This problem is one even Betty cannot do anything about, I suppose. But I will hide the effects the solution is having on the surroundings, in fact." "Sorry, I don't really understand what you're talking about. This is what happens when I go along with your absurd, roundabout way of putting it, I suppose. How irritating, in fact." Unfortunately, Beatrice's intentions failed to reach Emilia, leaving her at a loss. However, when Emilia thought that Beatrice seemed to take offense to this reaction of hers, I don't care anymore, I suppose. If that's how you want to play it, Betty will just do things her own way, in fact. Don't be so full of yourself just because you were the only one my brother revealed this to, I suppose. HMPH, in fact." Puffing her red cheeks, Beatrice turned her back on Emilia. She didn't really get it, but it seemed she had angered Beatrice somehow. This sort of thing happened rather frequently, even though Emilia wanted to be friends with her. But right now, Her promise to Puck took priority over these feelings. Beatrice, tomorrow might be just as cold as today, but Puck and I have nothing to do with that, so. You, stop running around telling that to everyone seriously, I suppose. For some reason, Beatrice got even angrier. 3. Puck, this is bad. I might have a talent for lying. That's pretty crazy. That's a talent a ruler ought to have. Perhaps this is a good omen. Is that how it is? That somehow seems really weird to me, though. Night had fallen, and Emilia reported the results of her all-day operation to suppress the truth as she stroked Puck's back while he lay on her lap. But unable to understand Puck's appraisal, Emilia knit her brows. It was true that by participating in the royal selection, Emilia was aiming to become the next ruler of Lugunica. But what exactly was the connection between a ruler and lies? For now, I think it's fine if you just stay as adorable as you are. By the way, you've been stroking your own stomach as much as you have my back for a while now. Is something the matter? No, it's nothing. It's just my tummy starts hurting when I lie. Then I don't suppose you really have any sort of talent for lying. It didn't seem like Puck was going to believe her. He didn't know about the skillful lies she had crafted throughout the day. Regardless, Emilia herself had sworn to avoid lying as much as possible, so perhaps it would be best if neither of them knew. By the way, did anything happen while I was resting? It's all right. It doesn't look like anyone has noticed that you're not around. If that's the case, I'll feel so lonely I could die. Well, the fact that no one has said anything might mean they're all duller than expected. Perhaps I could take things a little further. Puck. Emilia didn't quite catch the latter part of his statement, but Puck meowed like a cat when she called out to him. He seemed to have a habit of doing this sort of thing when he was trying to deceive her. Geez, come on, Puck. I want you to properly tell me everything. Well, I'll do that bit by bit, but you really managed to hold out without saying anything, huh? That's incredible. Foo-foo, I did promise after all. It was only natural. But even those suspicions disappeared in a flash when he complimented her. Honestly, at this rate it looked like they could get through this without anyone finding out about Puck's magical release period. If there were any cause for concern, it would probably be that, for some reason, Ram made eye contact with her a lot more frequently than usual today, and her eyes seemed to be suggesting something. That look of hers and her silent attitude. Perhaps there was something she wanted to say to Emilia. Ram did look like she was pretty cold too. Could it be that she was jealous of my long hair or something? Because if you have long hair, it leaves your neck a little warmer. Ram and Rem, the two sisters, both had short hair, so perhaps they couldn't deal with the cold around there quite as well as Emilia. That hairstyle really did suit them, but Emilia ended up feeling somewhat apologetic towards them. If this goes okay, I'll definitely have to repay Ram for this. But Ram's a girl who can do anything, so I wonder if I'll ever have the chance to do that. The way you look at others is one of the 108 things about my beloved daughter that make me proud. Puck overheard her murmur and responded with these words, making her smile. 108 had to be an exaggeration no matter how she looked at it. Puck was definitely skilled at identifying her good points, but even so. So, what about your magical release period? Is it going well? Yeah, thanks to you. But it looks like it'll take just a little longer for me to return to normal, so I guess it's going to be a bother for you and Beatrice. Gosh, Puck, wouldn't it be bothersome to everyone in the mansion? And Beatrice hasn't noticed anything either. The two of us will have to make this up to everyone later. Since they couldn't tell anyone about his magical release period, it would probably end up being a partial apology, but they still had to apologize properly for the trouble they caused everyone. After that, she would have to bet it all on her ability to form an excellent lie at the last second. Somehow, just thinking about lying makes my stomach hurt. That's definitely not what you'd call a talent for lying. How adorable you are, my daughter. Puck's completely carefree words made Emilia pout. She then gently picked him up and placed him by her pillow on her bed. Is it really okay for you to not return to your crystal? The way I am right now, I'm not sure I wouldn't just shatter that crystal. I don't want to worry you by ending up homeless, and sleeping with you would make me happy. Really, I see. But I'm really happy too when you're with me. Smiling at him, Emilia slipped in next to Puck, who was curled up and lay down on the bed. It was soft, with unusually velvety bedsheets. Even this bedding on its own was a kind of happiness she did not have back in the forest. That and Rem's cooking. I was seriously shocked the first time I ate here. That's true, isn't it? But there's definitely a whole lot more coming your way that will surprise you. Is that so, I wonder? Yeah, that would be nice. Puck's words made her feel warm, and she started stroking his neck. Her cheeks relaxed as she watched him purr, and sleepiness slowly overcame her. Tomorrow was yet another day she would have to give it her all for Puck's sake. That was another reason she had to get a good night's sleep and build up her willpower. I can't just keep burdening you like this either. I'll try to return to my usual self as quickly as I possibly can. Yeah, do your best, Puck. Phew. Good night, Leah. From next to her pillow, Puck extended his tail and gently caressed her forehead with its thick fur. She remembered that Puck used to do this a lot back in the forest. That was a long time ago, but this sensation she hadn't felt in a long time brought her a sense of security that was much greater than she expected. Slowly, Amelia's mind, tired from all the lying, descended into the world of dreams so it could rest. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but Puck's problem with his magical release period ended up getting exposed to everyone in the mansion 2 days later. To what extent did Amelia's actions contribute to the failure of their secret mission? Let us save the details for later, but there is one thing that can be said with certainty. Amelia's smile, when she realized she no longer needed to lie, completely captured the heart of the boy living with her in the mansion. That is all.